Hello everyone, I am back and today we are building a London Georgian Townhouse. Whoa, that was so British of me. And I came out super British, sorry guys. But yes, we're building an inspired London Georgian Townhouse, because I always feel a bit like they're always inspired, right? Because it can never be exact, but it's giving those vibes. And this house would probably more likely be in a terrace or semi-detached at least, but I just wanted to make one. I wanted it to be on its own, stand out, have its own personality, you know? So we just made one. But yeah, I mean, it could be on its own. Don't get me wrong, there would be some, but I feel like it'd be grander if it was just on its own. And it's not like super, super grand, but obviously from the outside it's a lot grander than the inside, because over time obviously it'd be decorated and things, so it can come a bit more modern and what have you. But yeah, that's the vibe today. And yeah, like I say, it probably would have been a terrace, or I'd have liked it to be at least on like a street row, which is probably quite typical of this style house. But of course in Sims, I mean, I could have made a whole street of them on like a massive lot, but I thought this lot was really good for just making one on its own, because I find that's when you do make a townhouse on their own, they stand out quite a lot, in most worlds anyway. But we're building here in Britechester, because I think it's a good world to build townhouses in. They sort of fit in, well, more European styled townhouses in, because that's the vibe it gives. And the lots on here, on these up high on these steps, are quite a good size because they're not very wide. So building just one townhouse doesn't look like super out of place like it does. Like I find like when I've built them in like Newcrest, for example, yeah, it just kind of sticks out because it's just so like vast, just vast suburbia. So yeah, but the only problem with this lot is it's not very like long. So this house has like a super, super tiny garden, which in some ways is realistic because of course it would be like in a city. So obviously they have much smaller gardens in the city, but it also has an extension on the back. So it's kind of the owner's fault for having an extension because they've just, taken up some of their garden. But there we are. But yeah, so I do make this like basement area, I'll call it, which is actually just fake. There's no like basement under this house, mainly because I like making basements that can like pop out at the back, so you can have that kind of open window space at the back as well. So there's light source on both sides, so they can have windows basically. But because obviously this lot, like I said, is very squished in the end because of the like length of the townhouse, I knew I couldn't do that, and I just thought that the basement as well, sometimes they can be actually other flats, so like not actually part of this house, if you know what I mean, rather than the basement of this house, it's been converted into a flat, so actually it's someone else's house. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going with. I do put like a debug door and like a bike and just a few bits down there so it looks like I say, someone lives there, but actually, yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. Unfortunately, it's just there for decoration purposes, because I find a lot of these houses have those, have that kind of like basement underneath or something underneath. So yeah, I wanted to put that in there. And the other thing I did want to do, because again, I find this style of house often have very, very tall windows on the ground floor and obviously tall ceilings. And the second floor also has fairly tall windows, and then the third floor is like a bit more squat, so then the windows are smaller. But I just felt like the windows I used on the ground floor are super big. I just felt like it'd be like too big to have on the second floor, so I ended up just putting small windows on the second and the third floor. So yeah, so they look a bit squished, the floor, like from the outside I think it looks a bit squished from like the ground floor above, but yeah, I don't know, I felt like it looked too long, like the rooms were too like high with the big windows, so that's what we did. And then on the back here, like I said, I did put an extension on the house, which is a bit, obviously looks very different because it's been done more recently. And I actually put this like funky roof on, so it was part flat roof and then with like a little like tilted roof, I want to call it, pitch roof, which has like a Velux window in it, because actually it's a roof type that I've seen, like one of my neighbours has an extension with this kind of roof, and I thought it was a really fun idea. I thought let's make it in The Sims. And one of my builds, I thought let's just pop it on the back of this house, because I find like extensions, honestly, they come out in all sorts of shapes and sizes these days. You can get all sorts of roofs, all sorts of funky shapes. And I thought, let's put a different one on this one, because I've done a few flat roof extensions on my builds recently, so I thought let's do a bit of a funkier one and not like a full-on just pitched roof. That's the word I was looking for earlier, hence the little silence, but anyway, I found it in the end. But yeah, and I would say this house is like a little bit eclectic, maybe, like just a little bit stylized. They obviously have a certain style, a little bit creative, so like lots of bold colour choices. And I even thought that actually when I was making it, perhaps one of the people who lives here actually is an artist of some kind or a designer of some kind. And I do actually end up making one of the bedrooms like a studio, which could just be for like a hobby, or it could be, like I said, part of their career. But either way, I don't know, I just felt like it was a bit funky inside, especially some of the rooms. So yeah, that's the vibes. So when you come in through the hall, you've got the typical layout, the hallway, obviously the front sitting room, the second sitting room, kitchen at the back. They've obviously like knocked through, so these two rooms can just be like, you can go through them with an archway. And I actually make this one a very sort of formal sitting room, sort of sit down, quiet place where you might host. And then the second room is actually like a playroom, still quite funky though. And I use these panellings in a couple of these rooms that I put on the wall, the panel pieces, which I don't know how I feel about them, to be honest. I know we've had them for a little while. I haven't really used them because I've just been a bit unsure how it would work, but I thought let's give it a go in this build. We're going for a bit of a funky style. And I really love the idea of them. It's such a great idea. And it's similar to something I was talking about in my previous video where I mentioned having like the option of maybe like tiles you could put on the wall in kitchens for backsplashes rather than having like the whole wall painted in a different tile choice, like behind the countertops. And like it's literally the same as that, is having something that you can just like put on the wall. But I don't know, there's something like they work, but then they also don't work. I don't know, like sometimes when I look at them I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it would look like. But then sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I'm using them wrong. I mean, I know I put them really, really low because I wanted just like a kind of dado rail going around, so like a low panel. So I've kind of, because we're up on a platform, I've pushed, they're like only half visible basically on purpose so that you just have like a half wall panel rather than like a full wall panel. But I do like how you can just put them on the wall rather than it being a wallpaper, because it also just adds so much dimension, doesn't it? Like it looks so much more real. So yeah, but I'm undecided. I'm undecided if I will use them a lot or not. But yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think. And like I say, this is the playroom. As you can see, it's much more like chilled out TV space. And I also used the new sofas from the basement pack, which I know are supposed to be like really scruffy sofas, and this house is this would be quite an expensive house, so they've obviously got a lot of money, so they can probably buy any sofas they want. But I don't know, in that colourway, I think it's quite fun, like it's quite bold. Like I said, I feel like that's the kind of colour choices the people who own this house have gone for. So that's why I went for that sofa, even though I know it's like supposed to be quite like scruffy. But also you kind of need a scruffy sofa for a playroom because they get quite messy and yeah, just who knows what's on them, you know? It's just they get scruffy, even more scruffy. But yeah, and then this is the extension that they've put on, which is down some steps, which again I feel is quite typical because these houses are normally built, because obviously they're very old, they're built in the old way with suspended floorboards. So whenever you do an extension, there is the option to like go down a level if you want to. And now that we can do it with the platform, I mean, I know the platform's been around for a while, but with the platform tool, it's like, I find it really fun that you can actually make these like functional way of doing this. Because obviously when we just had the like foundations, it was, you could do it in like a kind of, you know, you could fudge it so that it would work, but it's not as good as obviously this, because it's much more seamless like this. But yeah, and then just a tiny little bathroom down here. And like I say, using these really bold tiles, which I love. I love the bold tiles in, I can't remember exactly what packs those tiles come in. It's one of the kit packs, I believe, I think. that we get those tiles, the 2 different types of tiles I use in the bathroom and also in the hallway. I think they're super fun, and yeah, I just love using tiles in the hallway. Love it. And then the wood floor that I've used then throughout the rest, so like basically from the 2nd floor up to the 3rd floor, is this wood that I really love. I think it's from the Cats and Dogs pack, which to me looks like, because I love when I make older houses like this, I always like to have the kind of original floorboards like out in as the floor. Not always, obviously if it's been renovated in a certain way they might not, but I do enjoy using the original floorboards, or what looks like the original floorboards. And I find like at the moment there's a real trend of like painting original floorboards. I've been in a lot of houses that have done that. I think it's quite a fun idea. It looks quite cool. And that's kind of the vibe I was going with here. They've like painted them white. I just think that looks quite fun. It's quite nice. And yeah, I don't know why. I think these floorboards look really good like this. I've always liked them. So yeah, you'll probably see them a lot. And you'll also see in this video quite a few bathrooms, which is a real luxury, because I thought, you know what, let's just keep them all in. Why not? Literally there's a bathroom, like a big family bathroom on this floor, and the same again on the floor above, which are basically exactly the same. You'll see I like copy and paste most of the items I use, but they're decorated slightly differently. Originally I was actually when I first start, you'll see that I actually nearly make them exactly the same, and then I thought, right, that's a little bit too far. So I do change the like tiles and wallpaper so they're slightly different. But in my head I was like, maybe they got them done at the same time, you know, like someone came in and like we did all the bathrooms at once, so they were kind of similar because it's all done by the same people, and they just picked the same like, you know, bath, toilet at the same time. So I don't know, that's kind of, well, that's what I thought anyway. That's my justification of making really, really similar bathrooms. But yeah. And then this room, I would say, is probably for like an older child or a teen even. The 2 like children's bedrooms in this house are quite different in the sense of, I feel like there's quite an older child and then a much younger child. As you see, this room I'm working now on is for an infant. But yeah, the previous room, very moody, very moody bedroom. And then there's big contrast because this one's very bright and just, you know, a bit sort of like cute. I guess kind of has to be because it's for a baby. They might not appreciate a dark, moody room. I mean, they might. It might help them sleep. Who knows? But yeah, much sort of cuter and sort of less... It's less personalised so far because, of course, we don't know what their personality is going to be. So they have just... yeah, it's got a few toys and things. Maybe they're about to grow into a toddler, perhaps, because they've got sort of like the toy box and things and the treehouse. So yeah, maybe they're about to like age up. Who knows? Getting ready for that. But yeah, I thought with the bedroom next to it, which actually has a double bed in it, which I don't do very often for a child sim. That's why I'm kind of like, is it child sim? Is it teen sim? But I feel like, again, it's something that having a double bed is like much more common now when you're younger, it seems to be. Like you just because, I don't know, room sizes. I don't know, like I just see more double beds sometimes. But I tend to have my rooms, if it's a child sim, then it's a single bed. If it's a teen sim, then it's a double bed. But it doesn't always have to be like that. And this is, like I said before, the bathroom that I'm kind of copying. You see I'm going down and like copying the same items. Because, yeah, like I said, I feel like they just did it at the same time. But they're still, like, popping colours, you know? Because, like I said, I feel like this family, they like to have lots of different colours in their house. It's just nice. Makes it nice and bright and different in every room. But, yeah. And then this is the studio that I was talking about. Or just, like I said, it could just be for a hobby. I'm unsure. I feel like it's probably their job. Or maybe, like, a side job even. Like, a small thing they do on the side on weekends. Who knows? But they're obviously like a creative type and do some painting and things. And I also really love that it's like the mirror leaning against the wall with paintings around it that came with the new basement pack, which also you can get just the mirror, which is really, really nice. And I know there's like swatch where you can have it like with a crack in it and things, so it's quite good for detailing different rooms. But I mean, for this one I wanted it to look fairly nice. It's just sort of like a collection of paintings and whatnot, just like along that back wall. But yeah, so nice little space to come and just do some little creative things. But could also be obviously a bedroom if you wanted to make it back to a 4-bedroom house. Obviously there is 4 bedrooms in this house. It can easily be changed back to a bedroom if you want to. And then this is the master suite, which does actually have a ensuite off the side, which is really nice. You could even like knock these 2 bedrooms through and have one massive master suite. You can do whatever you like with it. This is just how it's laid out for now. And yeah, you'll see I'm using that mirror again. I keep using that mirror. It's gonna be my new like go-to mirror against the wall, like the one from Jungle Adventures. There's a really, really nice mirror in Jungle Adventures, which is basically just like a mirror that rests against the wall. And I feel like I'm going to start using this one as well. I'm just going to like alternate them. It's not like the same one every time, but I don't know. It's really nice. And then yeah, so this is the final bathroom, the ensuite. Again, like nice popping colours and the same light. I don't know what you feel about bathroom lights in The Sims. I never really know which light to use. I don't like using the kind of, I don't know, you know, like the flat ones, they're a bit like UFOs. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're called, but I like to have a hanging light, and I feel like obviously that's not very practical in a bathroom, and you can't always do that in a bathroom. I know there's like certain like electrical things you have to obviously adhere to when you put a light or any electrical socket, whatever, in a bathroom. But I always feel like the light that I've used there looks like a bathroom light because it's so, I don't know, just the style of it is very bathroom light vibes. But yeah. And then this, as I said, is the teeny garden. I feel a bit bad, to be honest, because it's obviously a family's home and they have like no space. But I mean, you could always take the extension off if you want, or just make it a bit smaller if you did want them to have a big garden, or they could have like a side garden. I don't know, I find that a little bit strange. But anyway, we have finished the build and I will leave you with some screenshots and see you in the next one.